Right, that's great. Everyone seems to be able to hear me. I'm getting lots of messages now, so that's wonderful. So welcome everyone. It's great to have you here, and thanks for giving up some of your evening to come and listen to this stuff. I'm sure I'll hopefully make it very much worth your while. I've got some very exciting things to talk about, and if you're interested in the subject of hypnosis and using it to make big changes for yourself, but also to help other people in whatever capacity that happens to be, then I know you're going to get some value from this call. And I know I've got some of my own students here, and I've got people actually inside New Zealand that are interested in the hypnosis, the subject of hypnosis and hypnosis training, but I've also got people overseas in various countries, so it's very exciting. I've got all of the questions through from you guys. I'm going to address as many of those questions as I can as part of the content of this presentation. But at the end of the call, if we've got some time, I'll take some other questions. And also, I did say I'd have some kind of a gift for you tonight. But what I've done, is I've decided to do some self-hypnosis teaching for you on the call, where you'll have something you can listen to afterwards, again and again. And what I'm also going to do is I'm making a recording of this call, and I'm going to put it back together with some slides, and I'm going to give you that as a gift, so you'll have access to that as well. So you will definitely have something as follow-up. But that said, I think you should really stay on the call tonight. I'm going to put a lot of really good information out there for you, and things that you can actually do, real good practical tools that you can use. And definitely I would think a much clearer understanding of what hypnosis is and how it can be used. So yeah, do stay on this call, all the way through. I'm guessing it's going to be 1.5 to 2 hours, something like that. And yeah, and I've got some really interesting, exciting news to share with you at the end as well. So let's get started. Like many people, but let me just tell you again the title of the presentation, just so you know where we're going with this. It's The Magic of Hypnosis: How you can use the power of your mind to change people's lives, and how people can use the power of their mind to change their own lives, and how hypnosis can facilitate that. Like many people, my first experience of hypnosis was so wonderful, so positive, and so absolutely powerful, and so different from the stuff we get brainwashed with, and thinking that hypnosis is some kind of a control mechanism or brainwashing, or that stuff which is just such nonsense. It's so opposite to the truth. Because I had such a wonderful and powerful experience, as many do, I wondered at the time, and I'm going back 30 years almost now, I wondered at the time, why doesn't everybody know about this? Why doesn't everybody have access to this? It's just such an unbelievable tool to be able to change the way you think and the way you feel and the results that you get. And 30 years later, I still kind of wonder, or many people still wonder, why is that? The same question. Why don't people find out about this? Why don't people have access to something that's so natural, so healthy, so harmless, yet so powerful and empowering for people? And I think I know a lot of the answers now, and hopefully by the end of the presentation you will too. It's very interesting, but there's a lot of people who I think it's probably in their interests to keep hypnosis as a kind of a strange, mysterious subject, almost a bit wacky and scary, frightening, controlling. And the truth is, as I'm going to share with you, the truth is that nothing could be further from the truth. If you think about a subject like brainwashing, controlling people, hypnosis is totally the opposite. Hypnosis is about freedom, and it's about freeing yourself and becoming empowered to live your very best life, and to become the person you were always supposed to be. Step by step, breakthrough by breakthrough. It's such an exciting thing that you can use, but totally misunderstood by a lot of people. And again, we'll cover all of that as we go. And I continued on that journey. I trained in hypnosis myself. I became a hypnotherapist back, I guess, 15 years ago or something now. No, yeah, 13 or 14 years ago. A long time anyway. It's been a lifelong passion. And then I started to teach people, and I started to use hypnosis in coaching work and in training work. And I've been doing that ever since, and that's what brings me here today to speak to you guys. And it wakes me up. It makes me alive. It energizes me to be able to share this with you. And I'm really excited that there's so many of you here, and so many people are going to be listening to this. And a lot of people, this will be the starting point of something very, very exciting and very different. So I've got some slides here. Like I say, I'll share these with you later, but for now I'll just talk you through. I know some of you are listening on the phone, a lot of you on the webcast. My first slide that I put together here is the question, what is hypnosis, number one, and what is hypnotherapy, number two? Because I think, well, I know in life we make so many assumptions and we think we know what something is, or, you know, we think we've got a pretty good idea, but when we come to verbalize it, when we come to write it down and to clarify, we realize as a trainer, something that I realize is you can have 50 different people in a room and all 50 of them give a totally different answer. And I know, you know, with this subject of what's hypnosis, I know that's the case because I've experienced that again and again. And I know the kind of answers that people give, and they tend to be a little bit off the mark. Even, you know, people who are training in hypnotherapy often have very strange ideas of what it's about. So let me ask you, just to start this presentation off, let me ask you what you think hypnosis is. And if you've got a pen and a paper, just write it down. If not, just gather your thoughts and you know, in your imagination, just think to yourself, what is hypnosis? And try and be as clear as you can in your thinking or in your answer. What is it? How would you describe it in a sentence, in a few words? What actually is hypnosis? Because it's a fact. You know, people say to me, I believe in hypnosis, but actually it's not something to believe in. It's a fact. It's a scientifically, medically established fact. There's journals and journals and journals and research and books about hypnosis that, you know, in the medical community, the scientific community, the dental community, there's no argument that it exists. People seem to have problems understanding what it is. So that's my question to you. Think about it and, you know, be as clear as you can in your answer. What is hypnosis? And the second part to the question, what is hypnotherapy? Because it's a different thing. So think about your answers to both of those, and I'll give you a few seconds to gather your thoughts, and then I'll hopefully fill in some of the gaps and clarify things for you. Right, that's plenty of time. I think hopefully you've all written down a sentence or gathered a sentence. Now, before I tell you what hypnosis is, in a scientific way, but also in a creative way, let's look at the subject of hypnotherapy first, so I can tell you what hypnotherapy is. Now, all hypnotherapy is a therapeutic, if you take the two parts of the word, it's a therapeutic application of hypnosis. All it means is it's hypnosis that's being used in a therapy sense, or, you know, clinical sense, and that's it. You know, because hypnosis can be used in so many different fields. I know people who use hypnosis in sports and athletics. I know people who use hypnosis in business and training. I know a lot of coaches, life coaches and other kinds of coaches that I work with and teach, and they use hypnosis in their work. And it's used in entertainment, film editing, film acting. It's used in politics all the time. So hypnosis is used in so many different applications. Hypnotherapy is simply the therapeutic application of hypnosis. So you've learned something there. But let's look at hypnosis itself. What is it? Okay. Now, scientifically speaking, you know, in terms of maybe not a dictionary definition, but a strict definition, it's two things. Okay. Number one, it's what we call a narrowed focus of awareness. You narrow your focus of awareness. So a lot of things that are going on around you, you kind of block out by focusing very strongly on one thing. And it's not a swinging watch or anything like that. It's or a spinning spiral disc. It's not that at all. It could be, but it's not really for what we're talking about. The second thing that defines hypnosis is what's called suspension of disbelief. Suspension of disbelief simply means, sorry guys, just give me 1 second here. I have to sign out to something. Right. Suspension of disbelief doesn't mean that you don't believe something, or that you believe something that isn't true. Suspension of disbelief means that you're prepared to accept something as true. Even though you know it's not, you're prepared to let your imagination work with it as if it is true. And so that is the thing that allows hypnosis to work, or those two elements. Now, let me explain that to you in a very, very simple way. Think about being in a cinema or a theatre. Now, the show's about to start. You hear the projector rolling, or you see the light come on through the projection booth. One moment, you can see people eating popcorn, you can see all kinds of things going on, and you look around you and you're having a conversation with your partner or whatever. Then all of a sudden, when that movie is about to begin, the lights go dark. And think about what else happens. Everybody goes quiet. You can't see anyone, you can't hear anyone. And then you focus on the screen and the movie starts and you're in there. And all of your attention is focused intently on the movie itself, if it's any good. but at the beginning you focus. Now that's the narrowed focus of awareness. The second thing, the suspension of disbelief, this is when the movie starts. Now, providing it's a reasonably good movie and it captures your attention and you can kind of believe it in a creative, artistic sense, then you experience what's called suspension of disbelief. You know, you're watching Die Hard or Titanic or whatever, and you know it's not true, you know it's a movie. However, you're prepared to let your imagination act as if it's true, and that's when everything comes alive. That's when you become in the movie. It's as if you're there. You forget about the outside world, you forget about your day-to-day problems, you are there in the movie. Some people are in movies, watching a movie, and they start crying, they start laughing, they start shaking with fear. It's one of those scary Halloween ones, you know, and that's hypnosis. But it's a great way of understanding how hypnosis works. It's as simple as that. People make it so complicated. People think it's about going into a trance. People think it's about being made to do things. It's none of that stuff, okay? Hypnosis is when your imagination can run free and can start to create and to experience things that you know aren't true, but you're prepared to imagine that they are. And in your imagination, in your subconscious mind, they are true. They are facts. The part of you that we call the critical faculty or the critical factor, the part that blocks out stuff and says, that's not true, I don't believe it, the skeptical voice, if you will, the bouncer that stops things coming into your mind as beliefs, that part's very quiet. That part's very quiet, and you get to enjoy the movie, as it were. Now, I'm starting my presentation, I often do this, I'm starting from quite an advanced point. A lot of people that spend years learning hypnosis still don't understand some of the things I'm teaching you now, because everything gets too complex, everything gets too complicated and messy. We're starting with clarity, so hopefully you're grabbing what I'm saying. It's something I pride myself on, is to be able to take some quite big concepts and get them nice and, you know, into golden nuggets, into kernels that we can understand. So I'm going to start with something that sounds really scary, sounds really difficult. It's called transderivational search. Okay, transderivational search, or TDS for short. It's the basis of metaphor and storytelling and all kinds of things, and it's the basis for hypnosis. It's a big word, big technical name. Don't worry about that. Just ignore that. I want you to understand what it means, and what it means is very, very simple. It means that you don't have the information that you need in the outside world or in a textbook or in a course manual, so you need to go into your imagination, into your mind, in order to find out the answer. And sometimes you have to create the answer. So if you ask somebody a question, or you tell somebody a story, and there's information that they don't know, or they don't know the answer to the question, or something in the story is very new to them, they have to do what's called a transderivational search. In other words, they have to go into their own mind to work out the answer or the next step. And when somebody does a transderivational search, you see their eyes change. Their eyes kind of glaze, or sometimes their eyes will look up or to the side or something like that, but their eyes move to show that they're processing information internally, and that is a hypnotic reaction. Okay, in hypnosis, you create for people this TDS where they have to go internally and use their imagination to create. And sometimes it lasts for a split second. Okay, sometimes in the case of a good movie, it could last for 90 minutes or 2 hours. You know, you tend to go in and out, but in a really good drama movie, you can be in transderivational search, you can be in your own imagination for a long time. But this brings me to the point of teaching you what hypnosis is by actually showing you. You've probably heard that saying in the past, don't tell people things, show them. And I've always believed that. And with hypnosis, it's the best thing. And I'm going to show you through demonstration in a moment exactly how it works in a way that I could never explain. I just need to take you there, really. But think about how we started the presentation. I asked the question, what is hypnosis? What is hypnotherapy? When I asked you that question, you had to carry out a transderivational search. Unless you're totally experienced as a hypnotist and you know it inside out and back to front, you almost certainly had to go into your mind and say to yourself, actually, what is it? I'm not sure. How would I explain it? And when you went into your own mind, you carried out a transderivational search, you went into hypnosis. Why am I telling you that? Because when you ask, if you want to be good at hypnosis, one of the first ways to do it easily, and all good life coaches know this, good counselors know this, skilled politicians and communicators know this, you ask a question. If you ask questions, you're in charge. This is apparently what they say in prisons. In prison culture, apparently, the person who's asking the question is the person who's in charge. And when a new prisoner turns up, people ask them questions. And if they answer the questions, they immediately are lower in the pecking order. I mean, I'm told this is how it works. So, if you're ever in a prison and somebody says to you, who are you? You ask a question back. You say, who's asking? Who wants to know? Apparently that's how it works. But this whole hypnotic effect of asking questions is powerful. Leaders, people who are good at asking questions often become leaders. People who are good at hypnosis become leaders. Because the other thing that's very hypnotic is telling stories. If you're in a room of people and there's 50 people in the room, the person who's got some great stories or who asks everyone else great questions tends to become a leader, tends to be looked at as the person who will have the solutions. Because they're the most hypnotic. They're the ones who can get people to go into their imagination and see possibilities or see solutions and answers. And it's a really interesting thing that if you've never thought about the world that way, you'll probably start noticing it from now really strongly everywhere you go. Those people who ask questions or tell stories, you look at how they can control, or control's the wrong word, we're trying to avoid that word actually completely, but influence. You see how they can influence a situation. And so yeah, hopefully that helps you with that whole idea of what is hypnosis. Hopefully between us now, we all have some clarity and some understanding of what we're dealing with and what we're looking at. Now, next question, people always ask me this. Can anyone be hypnotized? I have people who come for hypnotherapy training, and one of the things they're concerned about is, can I actually be hypnotized? I don't know if I'll be a very good subject. And again, this comes from misunderstandings. Everybody can be hypnotized. There's so much old-fashioned thinking out there, and personally, I get sick of hearing it. People say, certain people are more hypnotizable than others. Old people can't be hypnotized. Young people are good, and it's just not true. If you have an imagination, you're good at hypnosis. And there's something called the paradox of imagination, which I talk about. And so, if you're a person who gets stressed, if you're a person who suffers with stress, or a person who worries about things, or a person who catastrophizes and creates really worrying negative thoughts in their mind, which a lot of us do, you're already good at hypnosis. You have a great imagination. If you can get yourself into trouble with your imagination, you're great at hypnosis. You just haven't learned what it means yet. Because just like I use the analogy of the movies, it's the same thing. There are scary movies. There are really happy, uplifting movies. And if you're making yourself worried and stressed, or putting yourself under pressure, that kind of thing, then you're probably installing a negative movie, a scary movie. But you have all the tools you need. You are great at hypnosis, and so all you need to do is to change the channel, as it were, change the program slightly. Anybody can be great at hypnosis. It's just people don't understand what it is, and because they have this old-fashioned idea of it, people are going to control you and make you do things. What happens is we very naturally go on guard. We protect ourselves by not letting our imagination take that seed, take that suggestion that it can fly free and just have fun with hypnosis. It becomes very protective, and no, I'm not going to, I'm going to be very conscious and aware. I'm not going to let myself drift here because I want to be in control. And when you understand that hypnosis is only about control in such that it puts the person, the subject, in control. When you do self-hypnosis, you're in control. When you have a hypnotist facilitator and you're the client, you're in control. You're more in control than you ever will be in your entire life. Okay. Once you get that, once you understand that aspect, that the control is with the client, then you've got it, you've understood it, and it becomes the most empowering thing ever. So the power of hypnosis, let me talk, before I show you, let me just talk about one other thing. People want to know what's the difference between meditation or even prayer and hypnosis. And the truth is there's little difference in terms of the channel. When you clear your mind and focus and let your imagination take over and you start to pray or to meditate or to do self-hypnosis, the channel is very, very similar. You're plugging into something that nature has given to us as a gift, a way of tuning in to something, to a higher power or to a higher energy or to nature, to the universe, whatever it is. But the difference between those other subjects and hypnosis is that hypnosis is, number one, 1,000,000 times easier. Anyone who's done meditation knows how wonderful and therapeutic it can be and how spiritual it can be, but they also know how difficult it can be and how hard it is to master, certainly traditional meditation. You have to go and sit on a hill in Tibet or something, and it takes forever, and you don't want noise and that kind of thing. Hypnosis is just simple. You can just do it anywhere easily with a bit of practice. The reason why it's easier, and the big difference, the key difference, is that it's goal-directed. Now, you could say that prayer is goal-directed. If you're praying, you're focusing on something that you want, but it's a different kind of thing. With this, with prayer, you're connecting with another energy, another force, another being, whatever your beliefs are there, and you're asking for something that may or may not happen, I guess. Whereas with self-hypnosis, you're creating something that will happen, and it is happening. It's like an alternate reality, and as your mind creates that alternate reality and that change or that possibility, your body starts to actually create the changes. I don't know if you know this, but you can use hypnosis to get rid of warts and verrucas and things like that, and I've done that with clients so many times. In fact, one of our teachers, one of our trainers, Peter Garrett, who's a really successful hypnotherapist himself in Auckland, and he runs our training courses there, I believe he first got into hypnosis for something like that. I seem to remember him telling me it was verrucas or warts or something, and he just started going to bed at night and imagining in his mind, imagining them vanishing, and they went just instantly. My wife's done the exact same thing. It's, to a lot of people that sounds like magic. Like, how can you imagine warts vanishing and they go? When you understand how to use hypnosis, it's the simplest thing in the world. So, along with lots and lots of other magical changes that you can make. So hopefully that's exciting to you. But it also demonstrates the difference between hypnosis and meditation and all these other things. Is hypnosis, it's using the subconscious to focus on goals and outcomes and actual changes. And so it's important to know what you want, because your subconscious is obsessed with goals. Your subconscious is got two big goals. Your imagination has got two big goals. You've probably never asked yourself what your imagination is for. It's always there. It's always busy. It's always working for you. Some people have very active imaginations. Some people used to, all children do. So some people have lost that and have to train themselves to get it back. But I bet you've never asked yourself, really, what is your imagination for? And it does two things. Ultimately, it does two things. It's all about change. And your imagination will either create change for you, or it will work really, really hard to stop you changing. Okay? Hence things like procrastination. Now, bearing in mind that your imagination can do that for you, you need to tell it what you want. So let me just show you, and because I'm going to do a very kind of quick demonstration of how self-hypnosis and how hypnosis actually works, because I'd much rather you kind of experience something that gives you a clue, as opposed to me just talking, telling you things. So if you're driving a car or something, please don't do this. Save it till, like I said, you can have a recording. When I say don't drive when you're listening to hypnosis, people, again, they go into this thought of, hypnosis is dangerous, it's a dangerous thing. Hypnosis is not a dangerous thing. It's not invasive, it's nothing. It's very, very safe. But to do hypnosis properly, you really need to close your eyes and focus on your inner world, like being in a cinema. You have to switch things off and just go into this other place. Now, if you think it's a good idea to do that and drive a car, then I'm very concerned for you. It's the worst thing. So we never do hypnosis and driving a car. So this particular exercise, yeah, if you're driving, please kind of do this later on or something. You know, do it when you can really find a safe place to yourself, where you can be by yourself and, you know, lying down somewhere or whatever. And so that said, all I want you to imagine, and this is really simple, and this will really show you how it works. I just want you to, if possible, close your eyes and really just focus on what's going on in your imagination at the moment, on your inner world, and just take a few nice deep breaths, because people think hypnosis is just about your mind, but the mind and the body cannot be split up. Your mind and your body are so connected. Everything is one, and all the energy around you, the world around you, everything becomes one thing. Okay, and your imagination can just float. It's free, it's unrestricted. You breathe nice and deeply. You let your body slow down. Okay, you let your body slow down to a really beautiful, wonderful rhythm. So peaceful. We've got birds singing here outside my office. I don't know if you can hear that, but if not, use your imagination. Imagine some birds singing, or imagine being in a really nice place. Now, for a lot of people, when they start to relax this way, or they start to clear their mind this way, other thoughts come in, other worrying thoughts or other distractions. And people say, I can't do hypnosis, you know, think about other things, but you don't need to. This is one of the secrets of doing hypnosis the right way, is you don't try to do anything. You just let those other thoughts vanish. Let them drift away slowly. There's never any rush. You just take your time, just breathing deeply and counting your breathing. Just count each breath and just let yourself feel a bit more relaxed, a bit more calm and clear. And then all you do in your imagination is just take yourself somewhere nice. Take yourself somewhere that feels special to you. You know, when you were a child, it was very easy for you to just go to these magical places. You know you had a magical place. It's still there. It's easy. But you could be on a beach, or you could be in a forest, or you could be anywhere. You could be on a pathway. But just create that place. And a real good thing to do is to use all of your different senses. Because just as you have, you know, 5 senses or 6 senses even for the outside world, you have these same senses inside of you. You can use that 6th sense of intuition, imagination, however you want to think of it, that more spiritual sense of the world. The things we don't see, but we think about. But in your imagination, you can also be very clear about what you can see around you. So if you're on a beach, you might be able to see the golden sand and the blue sky. Or if you're in a garden, you might be able to see the beautiful flowers and all the colours and the trees. And you think about your feelings and the temperature, and maybe you can touch something close to you that feels just beautiful, fresh, energizing. Notice how you feel energy in your body. And then you can use your sense of hearing. Maybe the sound of birds singing, maybe a waterfall, maybe a beach, an ocean, the waves. Could be anything at all. And then when you create that magic place, you just give yourself a bit of space and a bit of silence. Just let all the other thoughts drift away. Just focus on your own feelings of space and silence and possibilities. And when you practice this, when you get good at this, anything becomes possible. And the most important thing is to just have some idea of what you want, some idea of what you're shooting for. Some people use this hypnotic space to start to become more confident, or to start to create change so that they're ready to attract love into their life, or romance, or a soulmate. Some people use this space to start to create relaxation and changes in their health, improvements in their health, their well-being. Some people use the hypnotic space to think about their future, their purpose in life, to work out what they want to do with their lives and to start to find themselves, find their true spirit. You can use hypnosis to condition your mind, to program your mind to start being ready to attract more money, more wealth, a better career, a better job, more friends, more enjoyment, more joy, and whatever. Better sporting success. Anything that's been bothering you in your life, any challenges or worries or blocks, in this space they don't exist, they're gone. You're free. So a lot of people use hypnosis just to create some freedom for themselves. And then when you've enjoyed the experience of this exercise, just bring yourself back, and all you ever do is you just count in your mind 1, 2, 3, and just be awake and alert and refreshed and feel the benefits. And just realize that when you do that for yourself, and some people it's just natural, some people who are like artists and creative, spiritual folk, it's just easy. They can do that and it's like, wow, that's wonderful. Put me back there. It's fantastic. Some people it takes a bit of practice, okay? But saying you can't do it or it's too difficult is a cop-out. You just need to practice and you'll get better and better and better at it. And that's a promise. And, I happen to have worked with a ridiculous number of people and, I've taken the hard ones through the process. So it's never too difficult. But the reason I show people an exercise like that very early on is because there's so much in there that's not the words. It's the space and the silence between the words. It was probably stuff that you can't put into words, but it's the feelings and the experience that when you tune into self-hypnosis and the hypnotic space, what you're tuning into is something that sometimes can't be put into words, but it's a place where you start to come alive, and you can feel that there's something special and anything becomes possible. Now, if you were a hypnotherapist or whatever, and you're a coach and you're working with your clients and you're helping them, and you're giving them that space to work in, you give them the gift that nobody else gives them. Okay? So just something to think about. But whenever you do a nice meditation like that, and I do call it meditation, but it's a goal-directed meditation. It's a strategic meditation, if you will. But when you do that, magical things happen, but always kind of make sure you're awake and alert afterwards and refreshed. It should always be a very positive experience. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is what's called hypnotic phenomena. By the way, at this point, guys, if anybody's got a specific question that relates to anything that we've talked about so far, please just fire through your questions, and I'd be really, really happy to address them, as long as they're kind of relevant to what we're talking about. A problem that I have, I'm very ADD. My attention goes all over the place. And so I can get led up a garden path in the wrong direction quite easily. So I will, keep the questions on topic, on things we're talking about. Somebody asked, can they help their tennis students to get better? Absolutely. Sports applications of hypnosis are so powerful. But what you've got to remember, and we'll cover this in detail through the call, is, and hopefully this is a metaphor for everybody on the call, hypnosis is not putting somebody in the situation that you guys just went into that lovely meditation space and then saying to them, you will get better at tennis. You will get better at tennis. I command you to get better at tennis. It's not like that. What you've got to do as a tennis coach, for instance, you've got to work out what it is that's blocking your tennis students at the moment. Is it a lack of self-confidence? Is it they're not relaxing? Are they doubting themselves? Or are they, making things too complicated? What is the problem? Are they not focusing on their goals enough? Are they letting obstacles get in their way? Are they overthinking the obstacles? Are they not relaxing their body physically enough? And whatever it is, in hypnosis you help them to work through those deeper issues, those deeper energies, and you start to build abundance. You start to build real energy to create progress. I hope that helps with the tennis coach, but I also hope it helps you all to understand things, because again, we get conditioned to think that when you put someone in hypnosis and tell them to do something, they'll do it, and I can tell you that it's the opposite. If you don't want to do something and I put you into hypnosis, in quote marks, because I don't believe you put anybody anywhere, but if you're in hypnosis and I told you you're going to do something that you don't want to do, you will not want to do it even more than you did before. Get this, understand this. Hypnosis is empowerment. If you don't want to do something, whatever I say is not going to make you do it. Okay? We can talk about influence later on, and influencing people like politicians do, and they think they're doing something they don't want to do, but it's not that at all. You cannot make people do something they don't want to do fundamentally in hypnosis. It's probably a good idea to clear that up right now, because I'm so passionate about this and so certain that I've always had this running bet with hypnotists around the world because there are people, there are hypnotists who make a living kind of telling people that they can make you do things, seduction hypnosis or something like that. It can make people do things they don't want to do. You cannot make me do something I don't want to do, okay? And I've had this challenge running forever, and I've never had anybody take me up on it in the history of ever. That any hypnotist in the world, if they can make me do something I don't want to do, I will admit that I'm completely wrong. But I have to be able to say what it is I don't want to do. And at the moment, the thing I don't want to do is to eat my hat. Okay, so if you can, hypnotize me or whatever and make me eat my hat, then I will admit I'm wrong. But nobody's ever even taken up the challenge. So bear that in mind. Okay, I know a lot of people get upset when I say you can't make people do things with hypnosis, because it kind of smashes the illusion, and people want to believe in the stereotype, in the stuff that we've been fed by the media and Hollywood, and it's just so not true. And you can challenge it, You can absolutely challenge it. If you see someone on TV making somebody do something with hypnosis, you can guarantee they're either using influence, which is a totally different thing, or there's a lot of editing going on. And a lot of very clever TV editing. No other questions at the moment, so that's good. So let's talk about the next subject, hypnotic phenomena. Hypnosis is nature's gift. This is not something that anybody owns. People like to think they own it, like medical or entertainment or whatever. People like to think that hypnosis is their thing. It's really not. It's for every single person in the world. When people wake up to the fact that hypnosis is empowerment and not control, and that it's the opposite of control, what's going to happen is the world's going to be a very, very, very different place. Because at the moment, the people who are the best at hypnosis are politicians, very wealthy people, wealthy business leaders and thought leaders, storytellers, artists, great artists. These are the people who are great at hypnosis. When everybody starts to pick up that power and use it themselves, the world's going to be a very, very different place. It's always been there. Now, the way I'm going to explain this to you and what I'm going to show you is that hypnotic phenomena exists everywhere, every day, in every situation. When we need hypnosis, it comes to help us. Anybody who's ever been deeply in shock knows that you dissociate. When you're in shock, it's like you go somewhere else. Okay. Now, dissociation is a hypnotic trance phenomena, a natural phenomena. When somebody's, and any athletes, anybody who's played high level sport, elite sport, knows that when you suffer an injury and there's a lot of pain, again you dissociate, or you create what's known as hypnotic anesthesia. You actually create your own pain control. And, this is one of the things we have to be very careful with hypnosis. I've heard so many stories from athletes that I've worked with where they've kind of broken their ankle or something like that, and they've kept running. They've run for 5 miles or 5 kilometers, and they didn't realize their ankle was hanging off almost. I've seen this in professional sport. I remember lots of stories of guys who've broken their necks. Famous soccer player called Dion Dublin. He broke his neck during a soccer game and kept playing for half a blooming hour or something. We can create pain control, anesthesia, analgesia. We can create dissociation, where we feel like we're somewhere else. We can do all of those things, and they're not created. They're not created, manufactured by a hypnotist. They already exist. What you need to understand about hypnosis, the real power of hypnosis, where it's just such a wonderful tool, is in its ability to create solutions to problems. Okay, so whatever problem you've got in life, you can pretty much guarantee there are hypnotic phenomena that can help you to solve that problem. So if you're in pain, there will be hypnotic phenomena that can help you to feel at ease, to feel comfortable. this is why hypnobirthing, for instance, has become so popular. Okay, not because it controls pain, but it gives you a chance to hypnotically create a different experience. We call it a reframe sometimes. Okay, if you are lacking in confidence, there are hypnotic phenomena that can help you to feel more confident. If you're stressed, there's hypnotic phenomena that help you to feel relaxed, and so on and so forth. And people get limited. They think there's only certain things you can do with hypnosis, like quitting smoking, or which it's unbelievable for quitting smoking. But people think that it's kind of limited. It's absolutely not limited. I always tell this story about this wonderful woman that I met once, and she only came into my life briefly for an hour or so, a couple of hours probably. I was living in Oxford in the UK at the time, in England, and this woman came in and she was dying. She had cancer, but she was at the point where that wasn't what she presented to me. It wasn't what she talked about first of all. It was kind of an aside subject, by the way kind of thing. But she was at the point where she hadn't accepted it fully. She hadn't accepted what was happening and hadn't come to terms with it and wasn't prepared to. She was in denial or struggling to own what was happening. And she sat there in the chair and she didn't want to close her eyes. I was talking her through a meditation just like we did earlier on. She didn't want to close her eyes. She was looking over my head at the window, and there was a chink of light coming through the window, and she was just looking at this beautiful light coming through the window. And I'm not kidding. I watched this woman. I didn't tell her what to do. I'm certainly not prescriptive. I don't say, you are going to accept what's happening. You're going to move on. None of that stuff. I just gave her a space and allowed her to go to nice places and have nice thoughts and let her imagination create things. And I watched her visibly become younger. I mean, she became a different person. Her face changed, all of her muscles relaxed, and she's staring at this light through the window. And then after, she just said to me, it's all clear. I understand everything. I feel wonderful. And she said she felt completely different. She left my office a different person, totally at peace with everything, totally happy with the world, at peace with herself. Everything made sense. Now, I don't know the exact details. I can guess, but I don't know the exact details. I wasn't there with her, but she was in her own experience and she became free. And it's a great example of the kind of thing that hypnosis can do for people. I know lots of hypnotists that have gone and done work in hospices and worked in palliative care and have just added so much value for people. And you can just imagine. But you can go to other applications like sports. If you've got two sports people, two athletes in the same sport, and they're at a similar level of skill and talent and strength and speed, you introduce one of them to hypnosis and show them how to use hypnosis, they will win the race, metaphorically speaking. They will win the race by a mile. Okay, and that's a fact. And so you can see these applications of hypnosis everywhere. So moving on with natural hypnotic phenomena, think about let me give you an example of where you can see what some of these are and where you can see them happening and working. Okay, and a good example I've often heard used is when somebody has lost a set of keys. Have you ever had the experience where you've gone to get your car keys in the morning and you can't find them? Okay, now most of us can associate with that. We're in a rush, we're panicking, we've got to get to work or take the kids to school or something, and we can't find our car keys. So, or our bus ticket or whatever it is. So, the first hypnotic phenomenon, so we start using hypnosis because when you need something urgently, when your back's against the wall or when you're in a panic, you will use hypnosis every time. So, first thing people do is they use what we call positive hallucination. Now, one of the problems with the whole kind of hypnosis profession and this whole field of knowledge is the stupid words that people give things. And unfortunately, it was done a long time ago, so we're kind of stuck with them. So, when a hypnotist helps someone to get into hypnosis, they call it an induction. Induction means going in, being led into hypnosis. Induction's a horrible word. It's horrible. It sounds like you're going to be going into a cult or something. The same with this idea of, trance. Trance is a scary word. You associate it with Alfred Hitchcock or something. And, positive hallucination. Who wants to be having hallucinations? It's such a negative idea. But like I say, unfortunately, we're stuck with the old-fashioned names. We haven't managed to change them yet, so we'll go with them. So you can't find your keys. You use positive hallucination. All that means is you go into your mind, you do transderivational search, you go into your mind and you think, what do my keys look like? And you see in your mind photograph of your keys. Or if you're more of a feelings person, you imagine yourself holding them and what they feel like. Now, because a hallucination doesn't have to be visual, it can be holding something, you know. Somebody who's blind, who doesn't visualize, can still positively hallucinate. They just do it in a different sense, you know, a completely different sense. I hope that clarifies for you. So you've used trance phenomena, hypnotic phenomena of positive hallucination. The next thing you do is you start to think to yourself, well, they might be in a different room. So you're standing in one room, but you're imagining being in a different room in your house where the keys might be. That's called dissociation. So suddenly you've dissociated, you're imagining yourself somewhere else, outside of your body, somewhere else, in a different room. That's dissociation. Next thing, you stand up next to the bookcase and you bang your head on the bookshelf and you shout, ouch! You bang your head and it's sore. But because you're in such a rush, it's so important you find your keys, you forget that your head hurts and the pain goes away straight away and you're busy thinking about your keys. That's anesthesia or analgesia. That's natural occurring hypnotic phenomena of pain relief. And then you use what we call regression. Regression is another hypnotic phenomena. With regression, what you do is you go back in time. That's all it means. So you imagine, where did I last have my keys? And all of a sudden in your mind, you're back to yesterday. And you're driving home, and where did I put my keys? And you've used regression. And there's so many of these other trance phenomena. I mean, these are just a few to introduce you to, but one of the most famous hypnotic phenomena is called negative hallucination. Unlike positive hallucination, where you imagine something that's there but isn't actually, with negative hallucination, you take something that is there and you imagine that it's not there. You lose it in your mind. And when you suddenly find your keys, and it's like they were there all the time. They were right in front of me. That's the first place I looked, but they were there all the time. That experience of it was there all the time and suddenly you find it meant that the rest of the time you were using the hypnotic phenomena of negative hallucination. Now, how can you use those in a therapeutic sense or in a practical sense in the world? Well, easily. If you're an athlete, let's use athletics just as an example. It could be anything. It could be stress, it could be depression, it could be anything. But let's use athletics or sport. If you're an athlete and you've never won a competition before, then you need to positively hallucinate yourself winning. You need to create it as a reality, what we call future pacing. It's in the future, but you're making it a reality in the future, current reality in the future. And you imagine yourself holding up the trophy or winning, hitting the winning score or whatever it is. And great athletes are great at hypnosis every single time. I can tell you that from first-hand experience. The great athletes are all the best hypnotists. They really are. And I remember when Venus Williams first won Wimbledon. She was a young thing at the time. She was a young lady, very excited young girl. And she won the women's trophy at Wimbledon. And I remember when they gave her the trophy and they said to her, how does it feel to win Wimbledon and to have this trophy? And she said exactly the same as it always has. I've lived this moment thousands of times since I was a tiny young girl. I've held this trophy. I used to hold up a toy or something and pretend I had the trophy. I've been here. I've done it. I've already lived this reality. So sports people are great at positive hallucination. Let's use another example for like pain. No, not with pain, with stress. So let's imagine you're stressed because somebody is stressing you out. A friend or a relative or work colleague or a situation is stressing you out. Well, when you use negative hallucination, it means that you get rid of, in your imagination, you get rid of the thing that's causing you stress. It's not there anymore. You can't remember what it is. It's gone. Okay, you have another hypnotic experience called amnesia. You forget about it. It's gone. Often the difference between somebody who feels depressed and somebody who feels happy, they're both living the same kind of life, but the difference is that the one who's happy has forgotten about the things the other person's thinking about. They're better at that kind of hypnosis. So, again, you can see how that would help. Analgesia and anesthesia, hypnotic pain relief, well, that would be fantastic if you were suffering with pain. And, I can tell you about lots of hypnotherapists that I know and I've trained who the reason they came into the field is because they used hypnosis to help them with their pain control. A very well-respected and successful hypnotherapist in my home city, she left her job because of an accident, which it was an accident with her back, and it left her in excruciating pain. She discovered hypnosis as a way to deal with the pain, and it was so inspirational to her, so powerful, that she became a hypnotherapist because she felt she wanted to help other people with that, and now she helps other people with their pain. I know people that became hypnotherapists because they had a negative childbirth experience. Then they discovered hypnosis and had a positive childbirth experience and decided that it was unfair, that was wrong. It was wrong that nobody had told them about it, and that nobody in the health system seemed to know much about it. And they wanted to make that right. And I can tell you of, some very well-known hypnotherapists who that's why they do what they do. That's how they got started. And, I could go on about that, but that's probably enough. I think that hopefully demonstrates to you that hypnotic phenomena exists. So with hypnosis, we're not always creating something new. We're using what's already there. Now, there's two naturally occurring hypnotic states that you need to know about. If you want to get good at self-hypnosis, if you want to really get the benefits of this or to help other people with this, you need to understand. I'm not even going to tell you the technical names because there's no point, okay? It just makes it seem complicated, and it's not. You go into hypnosis just before you fall asleep at night and just after you wake in the morning. That lovely feeling of floating and drifting and just being peaceful in bed, like you're awake but you can't be bothered to move, and you drift in and out of sleep, or so it feels like. That is hypnosis. Okay. Now, for any of you that aren't good at sleeping, that worry about things when in the morning or in the evening before they fall asleep, they spend their time worrying, that is also hypnosis. I'm convinced that most of the time, again, from experience, from working with so many people, I'm convinced that insomnia, not all of it, some of it has different causes, but 90% of insomnia is simply people being too good at hypnosis. Just too good at it. They can't get through the hypnosis to get to the sleep. And it's amazing how often you use hypnosis to help somebody with something, and they don't mention they're not very good at sleeping, yet they come back the next week and they say, okay, I've quit smoking or whatever, but the weirdest thing, the strangest thing, I've also started to sleep better. And that's the reason why, is that we go into hypnosis just before we fall asleep and just when we wake. Why do I share that with you? The reason I share that with you is because you can utilize that. You can use that tonight, tomorrow morning, every day. And guess what? A lot of successful people in history have used that. Walt Disney used to use that time to come up with his best ideas. His ideas used to come to him in hypnosis. Winston Churchill was the same. Thomas Edison went to sleep at night. He put an idea in his mind of an invention he wanted or a breakthrough he wanted to make, and he'd wake in the morning and he had the answer. So if you've got questions or problems or challenges or goals, feed them into your mind, what I call the dream machine. Feed them into your imagination and give your imagination one simple goal each night. Like, by the morning, I'm going to understand this thing. By the morning, I'm going to have the answer. By the morning, I'm going to feel like I know what to do. By the morning, I'm going to feel stronger, more confident, whatever. And people used to think that, and the interesting thing is hypnosis also happens within sleep. Okay, we know that now. A lot of people have already suspected it, but there were other theories with dreams, for instance, that when people are dreaming at night, that it's just junk. It's just like a computer that shuts down and all this weird stuff happens as it closes down. I even heard somebody once describe dreams as being like flushing a cistern at the end of the day, and everything gets flushed away, it's not needed, so in the morning your head's clear. But we know that's not true now. We know that's not the primary thing, and there's been some really, really exciting research recently by researchers from Harvard Medical School and MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, I believe. And the research is so fascinating that they've been testing people to carry out goals and mental training and whatever while they're asleep, and they're proving that people are working on their goals and their problems and making progress whilst they're asleep. So they're doing hypnotic work while they're asleep. And the famous one is they got these guys to practice this video game in which they're skiing. It's a video game where you're skiing down a mountain. And they got people to go to sleep in the sleep laboratory and to imagine while they were asleep that they were dreaming about getting better at this skiing game. And literally they were waking people in the middle of the night and just checking what they were dreaming about. And the participants would say, I was dreaming about skiing. And then they'd wake them in the morning and they'd get them to play the game again, and they would have improved. Now, I hope you understand how profoundly important. Any of you who work with personal coaching or skills, athletics, business skills, anything where you're helping people to perform better, if you can immediately start utilizing that time when they're falling asleep at night and getting people to let their mind train itself, during the hypnotic time before and after sleep and even in their dreams, you're going to notice people making amazing breakthroughs. And it's really exciting that science is starting to actually realize what, people who use hypnosis have always realized. But that's just one example. Now, the potential for hypnotherapy as a profession. I know a lot of you guys that are listening are quite interested in the idea of training, or you want to know whether hypnotherapy or just the tools of hypnosis to be combined with whatever other skills you have, whether that's something that's viable professionally to actually do for your job, for your living or whatever. And I always laugh when I hear that, because I work with so many people, helping them with their building practices and building businesses in this kind of a profession. And it just makes me laugh, because it's, one of the questions actually that relates to this that I saw earlier is there enough demand for hypnotherapy, or is the market becoming saturated? Now, how can you saturate a market, or how can there ever be enough hypnotherapists when everybody needs the help? Every single member of the population needs the help that we can give them. Now, one of the problems is the kind of the jack of all trades approach, or this general approach of, hypnotherapy can help with anything, so that's what I'll do. A lot of the great hypnotherapists have specializations. They have areas they love working in, and they really focus on them and become experts. And that could be helping people with their love life. It could be helping people with their businesses, could be helping people with stress management, with anxieties and fears, some other kind of therapeutic application, or it could be coaching, personal development, personal growth, spiritual, could be anything. But when you start to look at the exact issues that people have and what the solution is to that, then you realize that hypnosis as a tool professionally is something that is in universal demand. Think about your home city. The city where I live, I think there's about 100,000 people in my hometown. And of those 100,000 people, I think to myself, how many of those people would love to quit smoking? If they weren't scared and if they believed it could happen and it would be easy, how many of them would love to quit smoking? How many people in my city would love to lose weight and have struggled with losing weight, and it really gets them down? How many people have got problems with self-esteem? How many people have got problems with being able to relax, and it's affecting their health and their blood pressure, and all kinds of things are going wrong? And how many people are in bad relationships, or how many people have got low self-confidence and they can't even go and ask somebody out? They can't get the confidence together to go and ask someone on a date or something like that, and they're very lonely. How many people are confused about what to do with their life, and they'd love to have some guidance or some help to just work out who they are, what their place is in the world? How many people get headaches? How many people have phobias, scared of flying or scared of spiders? How many people would love to get better at a certain sport? Etc., etc., etc. And when you look at it that way round, there's never going to be a shortage of demand, ever. It's just not possible. Okay, this is a real growth profession, but the specialization thing is really interesting. Some of the great hypnotherapists I know have taken a particular thing that they're passionate about, and they've made that their special skill set, and they've made hypnosis one of their tools of choice. Something that's really interesting, and I have this breakthrough with hypnotherapists often where they're struggling to get clients, or they're struggling to build a practice, or not sure how to get people that they can help. What I realize, and what I'm able to show them very clearly, is that they're totally and utterly in love with the wrong thing. They get really in love with hypnosis, the thing, or whatever they do. It could be NLP or Reiki or counseling or whatever. And they just fall in love with this tool that they've got, this process they've learned, this panacea or whatever. And it's just the wrong thing to do. Who you fall in love with is the people that you can help. When you fall in love with the person that you can help the most, the doors are just, the keys to the kingdom. Everything just opens for you, because suddenly you become so valuable. Personally, if I like to help people with just kind of making progress in their life in general in terms of their pathway, their career, their destiny, just helping people to get clear and to get onto the right pathway in life. That's one of the things I love doing. And, I'll use whatever tools I've got. I don't care if it's hypnosis or NLP or life coaching or whatever. I will use the tools that are needed. And obviously if you're helping someone in a therapeutic way, then hypnotherapy is a great tool. If you're helping someone with personal development, career progress, it could be coaching. If you're helping someone with grief, trauma, bereavement, it could be counselling. There's helping someone with a medical complaint, it's medical. But, hypnosis can be involved in any of those things. And that's really exciting. And a lot of people, when they struggle with selling themselves as a hypnotherapist, for instance, is they try to tell people what they should do. And they try to tell people how great hypnosis is. And you don't do that. You work out what their dreams are already, and you take them by the hand and you say, here are your dreams, here's what your biggest problems or challenges or goals or dreams. I'm going to help you. And you help them, and that's the power. And something that's been so big, especially with the internet and everything else, is that people are being exposed to stuff that really excites them and gets them started, but it doesn't take them far enough. So a couple of things, if you were a hypnotherapist, you'd hear this a lot. Somebody's read the book The Secret, and they're really excited about the law of attraction and abundance and the idea that there's this magical energy that can help them to be more successful and happy in life. And they've read the book, but they can't quite get it to work completely. They can get started, but they need some more help. And, a lot of hypnotherapists would turn their nose up a little bit at that. But you really shouldn't, because that's what people want. And if you can say, well, look, I can do hypnosis with you and really work with you one-on-one and help you with this stuff, and that's so powerful. Another one is, we get a lot of people that come to see us to quit smoking, and they say, I've read the Alan Carr book called, The Easy Way to Quit Smoking. I've read that book and it was so wonderful, but can't seem to get it to work, or I've worked for a while and now it's stopped and I feel like I need some help. And as a hypnotherapist or, stop smoking specialist, you can help them. You pick them up from where they are and help them from there, rather than trying to say it's all about hypnosis. No, it's not all about hypnosis. It's about them and the magic that can happen to them. And what really people don't get about hypnotherapy, and, I find a lot kind of in the medical community and stuff, or in science community, where people just get a bit confused, is they learn about hypnosis, they're excited, but they seem to think it's going to be a prescriptive thing. So where you can, get a script or something and just read it to somebody and say, I'm going to read this to you and you're going to do as you're told, kind of thing, Like if you work within the medical model, you can get quite used to the idea of, you will take this 3 times a day, before meals and for 7 days, and that's your instructions. That's your prescription. Hypnosis is so the opposite of that. It's not controlling. It's not, you will do this, you will do that. It's all about, here is a field of energy. Here's an opportunity. Here's a space in which you can come alive and start to create your future and live your dreams and feel better and feel happier. And I'm not going to tell you what to do, but you will find within my guidance and suggestions, you'll find the space and the pathway to reach where it is you want to get to next. It's really different, it's really exciting, it's really wonderful, but it's just different. You're more of a guide, a facilitator, a mechanic in some ways, but you're not telling people what to do. It's very artistic, I guess is the word. So nobody owns hypnosis, okay? Like I say, there's big medical societies for hypnosis, dental, psychological, entertainment, sports. Everybody thinks, hypnotherapy, if you go to the therapeutic community, everyone seems to think they own it and it's theirs. Politicians, but nobody owns it. It's nature's gift. Anybody can use it, anybody can utilize it, and anybody can package it as a business or something that they can use to help other people in specific ways and wonderful ways. So it's really exciting. When people say, can I use hypnosis? Is it safe? Is it ethical? Of course it is. It's the wrong question. I find this a lot. People are asking the wrong questions, or they're not verbalizing them quite in the right way. The question isn't, can you use hypnosis, okay? The question is, what do you want to use hypnosis for? Then you can ask me, should you use it? Is it appropriate? Now, if you want to use hypnosis is great for anesthesia. So you can actually use hypnosis as pain control, and then you can pull somebody's teeth out do a tooth extraction, or you can chop them open and take out one of their organs or perform surgery. But if that's what you want to do and you're not medically trained, then of course you shouldn't do it. Of course you shouldn't hypnotize somebody to not have pain and pull their teeth out. You might think I'm having fun here, or having a joke, It should be fun, but my point is, if you're not medically trained to pull teeth out, you shouldn't do it. Now, if you can't diagnose depression, if you're not a psychiatrist or a doctor and you can't diagnose depression, of course you shouldn't be using hypnosis with somebody who might be depressed. That's ridiculous. It's all about, yes, you can use hypnosis, but is it appropriate? Just because you learn hypnobirthing and you can help facilitate a natural childbirth or pain-free childbirth or pain relief in childbirth, that doesn't mean you start telling the midwife what to do and calling for the forceps and telling the doctor to do this and that. It's not what it's about. Your job is in the hypnotic procedures. So I hope this makes sense. The point is, if a doctor has diagnosed somebody as being under stress or anxious or depressed, and that doctor doesn't know how to help with hypnosis, but you're asked to help with the doctor's blessing, or with full disclosure and full clarity and diagnosis and everything else, it's perfectly okay for you to help that person and to use hypnosis. Absolutely it is. And what you've got to remember is when people say, should it be legal to use hypnosis? It's a crazy question. It's a crazy question because people are using it all the time. And if doctors and dentists and therapists were stopped from using hypnosis, the only people left using it would be the politicians. Okay? When you think that asking a question or telling a story is hypnosis, how are you going to stop it? Okay? You might have a young child. I have 2 young children. So let's say one of my children couldn't sleep at night, was having a nightmare. Sometimes happens. So I go in to see, let's say it's my daughter. I go and see my daughter. She's been having a nightmare. Am I allowed to, if I wasn't trained in hypnosis, am I allowed to tell her a story? Am I allowed to tell her that she should close her eyes and, take some deep breaths and imagine being in a nice magical kingdom, sitting under a fairy tree with lovely little fairy lights everywhere and everything's safe and happy and peaceful and she feels lovely and warm and it's time to go to sleep now? Am I allowed to do that? Because that's hypnosis. Okay, so hopefully you get my point. You can do hypnosis right now with what I've already told you on this call. You can go and do a bit of hypnosis, but it's the situation is the thing. Is it appropriate? Is it ethical? Just because you've got a next door neighbour who happens to have a bad back, you can't now go and hypnotise them to not have back pain. That would be the most unethical thing in history. If you're not a doctor, for instance, you can't give somebody hypnotic pain relief for a headache, because it may turn out, and there was a big news story recently, similar kind of thing, but it might turn out that the person's got a tumour. And they might be really good at hypnosis, and so you teach them hypnotic pain control, and you get rid of the pain for them. Now it takes them another 6 weeks until the pain comes back, and then they go to the doctor, and they've just missed 6 weeks of potential treatment or what have you. When somebody comes to see you because they've been diagnosed with some illness, whatever it happens to be, and they believe in hypnosis as an option for them, and they want your help, then you can help them. And you tell the doctor you help them, you write a letter, and there's procedures. But my point is, if you're ever worried, is it ethical to use hypnosis? Well, of course it is, depending on the situation. So there you go. And there's different ethics for different situations. If you're helping someone in sport, let's say you've got an elite basketball player and you want to use hypnosis to help them, well, if you just give them some relaxation and visualization exercises, that's great. But you would be working under their coach or a parent or whatever. You'd be facilitating. If you started deciding that you were going to actually teach them some basketball moves and some clever techniques and train them on their fitness or something, or injury recovery, you're into a whole unethical area because you don't know about that stuff unless you're a basketball coach. If you're a basketball coach, I can teach you hypnosis tools and you use them, and that's fine. But if you then start trying to use them for tooth extraction or birthing, you're drifting into unethical. And I hope that really explains the boundaries for people. Where was I going to go. As a training school, the training school that I founded, we are unbelievably strong on ethics. But ethics and codes of conduct and all those kind of things, where I'm equally strong, if any, because I know there's some hypnotherapists on this call, and I want to be really clear with my beliefs here. Ethics shouldn't hold you back. Ethics should not stop you helping people. There are people out there hurting, in pain, suffering, struggling, low on confidence, shy, depressed, whatever, and they need your help and they're begging for your help. It's for you to not help them. To me, that's highly unethical. I'm not saying you have to if you don't want to, but if you want to and you feel you can't, that's unethical. You need to be trained, of course, and you need to have the right certification, but to be held back is just ridiculous, Ethically, if you've got the skills to help people, you should be helping people. I really believe that, especially if you have a passion for it and you're drawn to it. Once the medical diagnosis has been made, it's just incredibly powerful. But my next slide here, something we've really got to understand is that hypnosis is about choice. Smoking is a great example. In the olden days, and there are still people doing really old-fashioned stuff, and it's not just that I don't like the idea of that's what we call aversion therapy, but aversion therapy in hypnosis just doesn't work. When you go into a hypnotic space, you realize you can do anything, you can have anything, you can be anyone. The whole pathway opens up to you in your imagination. To then be told you've got to do something or you've got to imagine something negative is horrible. In the olden days, with smoking cessation, people used to use aversion therapy. They'd say every time you light a cigarette, you feel sick and you want to vomit. And you see all this black liquid going through your veins and your lungs are struggling and there's smoke in your body. That is very dramatic. It's great on stage. It's a great kind of dramatic demonstration of getting someone to say, oh, I hate cigarettes, and throwing their cigarettes in the bin. But people who use aversion therapy for stopping smoking, and all the research backs this up, they all start again. And they usually, when they start again, they smoke more than they used to, because the subconscious has got a sense of humour, and it says, have an extra cigarette a day. When you give people choice, when you show people in hypnosis that it's not about them giving up something they love, it's about them choosing a different pathway. And when they become a non-smoker, everything becomes different, and they're healthier and happier, and they've got more money, and they feel like they're in control of their life, and they're clean, and they smell nice, and they've got more energy and more confidence, and now their pathway, the gates open, and they can do anything they want. They're free. They're free to be themselves. That kind of language, that kind of strategy is the one that works the best. And I use smoking as an example, but it could be anything. It could be anything. Imagine the difference between, let's say you had shyness and you were shy to talk to people in social situations. Well, which is going to work best for you? A hypnotic suggestion or idea that every time you're in a social situation, you feel a hand in your back pushing you and opening your mouth to make you talk and forcing you to talk. That's aversion. I mean, is that really going to work for you? Or you imagine the shame of going home and not having talked to anybody. Okay? Or would you prefer a positive hypnotic strategy where you're given the choice to decide to become more confident, to let confidence flow into your body and into your thoughts and into your energy, so that you suddenly start to feel a bit more confident again, and suddenly you realize that there are all these interesting words and ideas come into your mind, and you start to see yourself as an interesting person. And it's about choice. It's about choice and empowerment. Hypnosis cannot be, once again, you cannot be made to do something using hypnosis. You can be influenced. Okay. Now, there's different ways of influencing. You look at some politicians, they know, let's say you don't want to vote for a particular party. A politician cannot hypnotize you and say, you must vote for me. Okay. That's a direct suggestion. They may use that direct suggestion, but they use it in a different way. They use influence. They say, you must vote for me. And then they tell you a story, or they give you an idea, and they say, look, they might ask a question, do you like paying lots of tax? Do you like paying lots of tax, or do you like seeing the world, stuffing itself up, the environment stuffing itself up? Do you like those things? Because if you don't like paying tax, or if you don't like the environment going wrong, or if you don't like people not having jobs, then you should vote for me. That's hypnosis. And you might get somebody to vote for you, but you haven't made them do what they don't want to do. You've just influenced them according to their higher goals and their higher motivations. You need to understand that, because it's so powerful. Because if somebody doesn't want to quit smoking, it's going to be really difficult unless you can find out something that they want more than that, like to see their children grow up, okay, or to live an extra 10 years. When you start tapping into those things, Suddenly somebody feels they're doing something they didn't want to do, but it's not really that at all. They want the higher goal, they want the higher purpose, and they're prepared to make whatever changes in order to get it and to let go of things. So hope this is helping, guys. I mean, we're well into this call, so at this point, if anybody's got any other questions, specifically on the things we're talking about, please fire your questions through. I'd love to talk about that. And back on the subject of influence, one of the kind of preeminent voices on the subject of influence, who's written lots of books about influence and body language and powerful communication, influential communication, is a friend of mine, a guy called Kevin Hogan, who is amazing. And he's one of the best hypnotists in the world. He doesn't do hypnotherapy anymore. He does his trainings and stuff, but he's so respected and so talented, and he's using hypnosis all the time, and he's teaching it to people. Now, the reason I bring Kevin up as an example is what this comes down to at the end of the day, ethically and morally, is what are you trying to influence people to do? Are you trying to influence them to change their lives, to live their dreams, to become the person they want to be, to become more powerful than they ever thought they could be, more happy, more healthy? You're trying to influence them to do that, like people like myself and Kevin Hogan are doing, and I'm sure everybody on this call, that's the kind of thing you want to help people with. That's magical influence. That's amazing. Because when you look at politicians, and this is no moral judgment on politicians or any particular politician, none whatsoever, but when a politician is trying to get you to vote for them, well, that's their motivation, that's their influence. Now, I think that what we're doing in terms of therapy and coaching and personal growth, I think what we're doing is pretty unquestionably of a high moral value and a high authentic level of goodness. And at that point, the influential nature of hypnosis is so powerful. Personally, I never, ever, ever would try and influence somebody to do something they didn't want to do. Not at all. Might stir them up a bit with a few questions and stories, but at the end of the day, whether someone wants to quit smoking or lose weight or improve their health, it's their choice. But once they make that choice, I know for a fact, I can do all kinds of different things to help them, and I can bring in all kinds of different experts and medical and techniques and tools and science. But I know that ultimately you take away all my tools, you leave me with one thing, and that's the power to teach them self-hypnosis and empowerment. I'll let go of everything else. You leave me with that one thing, and I know I've got something to add, and hopefully that's what I'm teaching you here today, is that you can pick that up and use that yourself in so many ways. It's just unlimited. Hypnosis at its most powerful, at its best, okay? Again, this is very advanced. Most people never learn this. I'm teaching you what works. I'm teaching you what works, cutting edge. Hypnosis at its most powerful, and this is my biggest kind of my biggest kind of belief, the thing that I really believe in, is people's strengths, people's uniqueness, people's individual talents, okay? I believe in the environment of change and empowerment. So it's where science goes so far but can't go any further. A scientist, by nature of understanding the science of colour and drawing and lines and whatever else, cannot turn around and create an artistic masterpiece using science. They can explain why a piece of art's really good, or they can explain why some pieces of art might be better than others in some way, technically. But at the end of the day, Vincent van Gogh made the beautiful paintings, and they came from the heart, they came from spirit, they came from imagination, and you can't scientifically reproduce that in a way that's unique. You can copy it and forge it, but you can't create that from nothing using science. And just the same with hypnosis. When you're creating a life, when you're creating potential and empowerment and abundance, and health and happiness and self-esteem and all those beautiful things, there's so much art involved. And hypnosis is the art form for changing people's lives in positive ways. I know you can listen to a song and feel happier. I know you can watch a movie or read a book and feel happier, but hypnosis takes it to a whole other level. And what it does more than any of those other art forms is it allows people to do their own changing, their own creating. But we use something called utilization, and it's people's amazingness. Everybody's amazing in their own way. That's my belief, and that's what I tap into. Just create that zone of change, that field of dreams, and people step in there and start, changing in wonderful ways. And if you've ever read about flow theory, it's a guy called Csikszentmihalyi. It comes from positive psychology, which is a very interesting area of psychology. And he looks at people's strengths, and when people are doing what they were born to do, when people are doing what they're naturally good at, or using energy that's their natural energy, they go into what's called a flow state. They start having peak experiences. They start feeling like time stands still, that anything's possible, that they're just immersed in what they're doing. And all of these things in flow theory that he talks about are hypnotic phenomena. Basically, he's talking about hypnosis. Simple as that. Often when people experience hypnosis, they say that what they experienced was so profound it can't be put into words. And that's because there are no words. It's something you experience, something you go through, and you come alive with it. The enemy of hypnosis for me, the enemy of what we've got here, of what we can do for people and for ourselves, the enemy is what I call human commoditization. Basically trying to make everybody the same. For me, it's all about utilization and freedom for the client. And as a practitioner, if you're the hypnotist, if you're the hypnotherapist, and this is certainly a massive kind of thing that we're big on with our training school, it's just as important for the hypnotherapists themselves to be unique, to be themselves, to be able to bring themselves alive and have their own energy, their own beliefs, their own values, and their own, passions and strengths. An example of that I'll give you. I once worked with somebody who was a newly qualified hypnotherapist, and they weren't getting any clients. They were struggling. So I sat down with this person and I looked at their website and their advertising materials, and I said, well, I can kind of see where you're not getting any clients, but I want you to discover this for yourself. So we went through a process, and I said to them, let's look at your website. Look at your photo. Look at the way you're dressed. Look at the words you're using, the way you're describing things on the website, the way you're talking about yourself and your clients. Do you believe all of that? Is that really you? And I remember this client of mine looking very uncomfortable and saying, not really, something's wrong. And I said, well, what's the most important thing to you? She was a counsellor, by the way. She'd come from counselling, and she worked with a lot of people that were very kind of depressed or in very dark places in their life, as it were. And I said to her, well, who are you as a person? What's the most important thing to you in your life? What word sums you up? And she said, laughter, joy, laughter, fun. That was her thing. She said, people who know me, my close friends and family, they say, well, I'm a joyful person. I'm full of fun. I'm always cracking a joke, always making a joke or laughing out loud. And I said to her, well, I've just looked through your website and your marketing. I've looked at your photo, and there's no fun. There's no joy. How are you free? How are you flying and free as a bird here? Surely this isn't you. And her jaw dropped, and she was like, you are so right. I need to have a smiling photo. I need to be able to tell people, when people come to me, they have fun. It's joyful. They find joy in their life again. I like to help people, even in the darkest of circumstances, just find something to laugh about and have a bit of joy. And she changed the name of her practice. I can't remember what it was now, but it involved words that were to do with being happy and joyful. And she became someone who was a beacon. She suddenly had lots and lots of clients because people were going to her because they were a certain kind of person who was very sad but used to be happy and wanted their joy back. And they saw her as a beacon of hope, of joy. And, that's quite a simple story, but I've seen it so many times. There's no point for a hypnotherapist, again, because I know there's a lot of you on this call, there's no point in you, if you're very spiritual based and everything you do is about people finding their spiritual nature and going on a spiritual journey, there's no point you dressing in a business suit and trying to be really business orientated and talking very technical, dry business language to try and be professional. There are lots of different ways of being professional. You go and look at a website for a very successful coach or hypnotherapist who is very spiritual by their nature, and you'll see that you can let that shine. You can let that light shine, and you will drag in the clients who also are looking for the same thing. It's just so important, and vice versa. If you're very business orientated and your love is corporate and coaching and working with business owners and career development and those kind of things, there's no point in you putting on the beads and the robes and trying to pretend to be really spiritual based if it's not you. Because you will attract what you put out there, and that's a big reason. And the reason I bring it up is because when we work with clients, you've got to get into their model of the world. You've got to get into their frame of reference and use hypnosis in a way that resonates with them. Now, a student of mine where I teach, it's last year or the year before, but quite recently, she was the hypnotic subject. and one of the other students was reading a script. Now, we sometimes use what are called hypnotic scripts, where we just read through a script just to practice, just to get used to the language and the pacing and everything. But, you know, they really can be atrocious in terms of the mismatch. And I remember that this guy was reading a script to this other lady who's now a really successful hypnotherapist, and she'd had, we all knew in the class, she'd had a near drowning experience. She nearly drowned years ago, and it was obviously a very traumatic thing and a big thing in her life. She'd actually been, I think, clinically dead and had to be brought back to life and all that kind of thing. And so she'd nearly drowned, and it was a serious thing. And so I think she's got a big thing about not going in the ocean anymore. And in this script that this other hypnotherapist student was reading to her, it said about being in the ocean, swimming or floating on the waves or something. And as he said it, he went white, because he was like, that's not going to help at all. She's going to have a panic attack or something. And as it happened, she didn't. And this is a big lesson for anybody about hypnosis. If you're unclear about this, you are in control. And, you know, my student, Karen, she knew she was in control. She said, I didn't worry about that. I just went somewhere else. I ignored what he said, and I just went onto the beach and sat under the umbrella with a cocktail and reading my book or something. So she just went somewhere else. So don't think that just because you're reading something to someone that they're going to do what you say, because it just doesn't work like that. But it highlights the point that if you're going to use a script, a list of suggestions or a story for somebody, you've got to match it to them. If somebody loves being in a forest for a walk, they love tramping or walking in the forest, take them on a meditation where they go walking in the forest. If they describe themselves as being energetic, have a script about being energetic. If they want to quit smoking but they feel that they're going to need a bit of a push, well, read them a script about stopping smoking using hypnosis, but describe them getting a bit of a push in the script, that they can feel themselves being pushed along a bit. You've got to match the story to the person. Now, scripts don't work because they're not matched to the person. However, that said, if you can put together a hypnosis script of suggestions in the right way, where it's gives people choices and options, and especially if you can make that up relevant to that person and use their interests and their passions and their way of looking at the world and their words and their stories, and build that all into the script, it can be very, very powerful. What's really at the heart of hypnosis is what we call suggestions. Now, again, I'm going to ask you guys, everybody listening to this call, you probably have heard that before. You probably know that hypnosis is about suggestions. But what do you think a suggestion is? What does it mean? Have a think about that. If I asked you in one sentence, what is a hypnotic suggestion, or what is a suggestion? What do you think it is? Now, let me tell you, a suggestion is something that can be chosen to be acted on or not acted on by a client. Now, if a client's told you they want something like quitting smoking, or think about yourself, if you want something like quitting smoking, losing weight, being more confident, being happier, improving your health, if you want one of those things and you really, really want it, finding your true love, making $1 million, winning at tennis, whatever, if you really, really want that thing, you're going to absorb and accept all kinds of suggestions that are going to help you with it. As long as they're believable, and as long as they fill you with desire and light you up with energy, you're going to accept the suggestions. And so a suggestion is just an idea. It could be a picture in a book, could be a YouTube video, could be a story, a joke, a question, an instruction even. It's very difficult to get people to accept hypnotic direct instructions. It can work, but you have to have a lot of trust or a lot of respect first. It's much easier to use stories and things like that, and give the client their own opportunity to choose to use the suggestion. A way that I've heard it explained that I think is really powerful is it's like planting a seed. You scatter some seeds into the garden, or plant some acorns or whatever. Now, some of them are going to grow and some won't. So with suggestions, we give lots of different suggestions, and some of them grow, some of them don't. Ultimately, it's up to the client. Do they like that suggestion? Well, it's up to you if you're doing self-hypnosis. Can you give yourself an idea that plants, that takes seed and starts to grow? If you can, stand back. That's when the magic happens. But following that kind of garden metaphor, there was a famous philosopher called Spinoza. I don't claim to be a philosophy expert, but I know lots of stories about different philosophies and kind of the basics of some of that stuff. And Spinoza was interesting because I was reading a book and it was talking about his theory about how you only become who you are. And this is really big in hypnosis. If somebody wants to become a famous football player, but they're no good at football, that is a hard road. To try and use hypnosis to get them to be a famous football star, even though they're not very good at football, that's tough / impossible. And I'm one of the world's greatest optimists, and I'm using the word impossible, really, or verging on. What's much easier is to work out why they want to be good at football, why they want to be famous, why they want to do those things, and then find them a different way to get there. So they get exactly what they want. They just go a different pathway that suits them. And that's when we start tapping into people's amazingness and opening up their unique energy and helping somebody to fly free as a bird. That's what we're doing. And that's really what Spinoza talks about. There's that explanation. There's two trees. You plant two trees. The one that you plant with sunshine and the right nutrition and the right kind of soil and the right temperature, and you water it the right way and everything else, that tree grows, and it grows strong. The tree that's planted in the wrong place, it doesn't grow. So with hypnosis, there's this big model where what we're doing is we're just putting people in the right environment of change. We're helping them to get into that state where things become possible, and they will become who they're supposed to be. They will open up like a flower, they will grow like a tree. So if somebody is an apple tree, they're not going to grow into a pear tree. If they're a cherry tree, they're not going to grow into a whatever tree, coconut tree. You're only going to be who you are, but you can be amazing and unbelievably wonderful as being who you are. And hypnosis is really that field of dreams, that environment in which that can happen. Bringing it all together. We'll come back to that in a moment. I just want to teach you, the one kind of other thing that I want to teach you this evening that I think will be really, really powerful is just how to do some self-hypnosis for yourself. And it's a very powerful strategy. This is really my kind of gift for you. And like I said, I'm going to make this recording available so you'll be able to go over this again and study it and take notes and start practicing with it. But with self-hypnosis, here's the key. People make it so difficult. They make it as hard as meditation, where you really have to clear your mind, and it's really difficult. When you do self-hypnosis, you take on two roles. You're the facilitator or the practitioner, and you're the client. And sometimes it's difficult to remember what you're doing, and you forget, and it gets difficult and hard. The best way to do self-hypnosis is just to trust yourself to go wherever you need to go. And a great time to do it is at night, just before you fall asleep. Just let yourself go. If you think you've fallen asleep, you haven't. I mean, you will go to sleep eventually, but for that 5-10 minutes, you will drift, and you'll go so deep because you're already in hypnosis. You're utilising a natural phenomena. You'll go deep and you'll swear you've fallen asleep, but you really haven't. And you can use tapes and CDs, or you can just do your own thing. But the first step is choose the right time, just before you fall asleep or when you wake in the morning. Now, at that point, the next step, you've got to know what you want. And don't make it like a Santa's wish list with 20 different things. Just think about what you really want. Turn it into a thing. What's your next milestone in life? Maybe it's a presentation you're giving at work tomorrow. Maybe it's a date that you're going on tomorrow. Maybe it's a job interview. Maybe it's a health issue that you've been working on that you want some progress. Maybe it's losing some weight. Maybe it's overcoming a challenge, getting on better with somebody, building a better relationship. It could be anything. But whatever it is, write it down on a piece of paper, put it in an envelope and put it under your pillow. And that's your ticket. That's your instruction to your mind, to your subconscious. And then you simply just let yourself drift into this beautiful state, and you let your mind go as clear as you can. You breathe deeply and you just let yourself go. And you know that your mind is being instructed to work this stuff out for you. Like I say, I call it the dream machine. There's this dream machine in your imagination. You're saying just do whatever you want. And whatever strange and weird thoughts come into your mind, or wherever you drift off to, it doesn't matter. Your subconscious knows what to do. It's like a dog chasing a stick. It knows what to do. And it will grab that stick and bite onto it and bring it back to you. It really will. It will bring your dreams to you. But you've got to say what you want first. Here's the problem. When you put yourself into a lovely state of self-hypnosis, often you go so deep that you just go off. You're gone. You can't remember what happens next. So you can't do it the traditional way of putting yourself into self-hypnosis and then giving yourself the instructions. You have to give yourself the instructions first. The way I explain it, if you go into self-hypnosis but you don't know what you're doing there, you haven't decided what your suggestions are, then it's like going on holiday and realizing you haven't packed your suitcase. People do self-hypnosis, they go on holiday and then they expect to be able to pack their suitcase after they've left. It's not logical, it can't work that way. Think of self-hypnosis where you give the instruction, you decide what you want, that's like packing your suitcase, then you go on holiday and you just go to a beautiful place. Maybe you listen to relaxing music, maybe you count yourself down, maybe you talk yourself and create this beautiful journey. But whatever you do, you go there, but you know why you're going there. And then eventually you let go. Don't be a control freak. Just let yourself go. Don't analyze. Don't question. Don't put blocks in the way. Just get rid of all that and just let yourself go on this beautiful journey, this vacation, this holiday in your imagination, and your subconscious will get you that breakthrough. Just like Thomas Edison trying to invent how to make the light bulb work. You know, it might take a few goes, might take a few sessions, but you will get there. And it's beautiful. There's no pharmaceuticals, there's no chemicals, there's no forcing, there's no having to talk about the past and go over old traumas, and there's none of that stuff. There's no psychoanalyzing. It's just a beautiful, simple journey. It's too simple. It's why people don't do it, and why when I teach it, people say, that's too simple, simplifying things. It's not. It's the answer. You know, people talk about the secret. This is the secret. I'm just giving it to you. And it makes you so much better at communication with yourself and with other people, because to do self-hypnosis this way, you have to really think about what you want. You have to really think about what you've done in the past, what worked, what didn't work. You have to really think about what the real deeper challenge is here. You have to think about which resource do you need. What do you really need? What's really going on? And makes you think, makes you analyze and work things out. And then when you know what you want and you know what you need, you just go on that journey. And it really makes you good at communicating with yourself. It's great for building a great relationship with yourself. It's great for strengthening your understanding of yourself. People go away to India for 2 years to find themselves, and they come back and they've got a good suntan, but they haven't found themselves at all. This is a great journey for finding yourself. It's a lot cheaper than going to India. I'm not saying you shouldn't go to India. That could be wonderful and beautiful. I'm just saying if you want to find yourself, here's a quicker way to do it. And you don't need to be on top of a mountain. You can be in your own bedroom. You can be in your own garden. You can go for a walk around your local park. It doesn't matter. I often do self-hypnosis while I'm on a nice walk. Just look out for bicycles and don't walk near roads and things like that. That's good advice. Make sure you're in a safe environment. Just sitting on a park bench is probably a good place to do a meditation like this. Now, a couple of questions that have come through quite specifically about, is it possible for you to train as a hypnotherapist, or who can train as a hypnotherapist? Now, obviously, at our school we train a lot of people, and so I know, people that do well at this and the kind of things that would make somebody a great candidate to learn hypnotherapy. The key is to think about why you want to do it. If you want a new career, if you want a new direction in your life, and this is something you want to really throw yourself into and make this your big thing, and you're looking to create a business, well, that's great, but you've got to really think about what it is you want to help people with, and what kinds of things you'd love to help people with, and who are you? What kind of a person are you? Are you a very serious person? Are you a scientific person? Are you an artistic, creative person? Are you a spiritual person? Are you an educator, a teacher? Are you a coach? What is it that you do, and what is it that you would love to do? Because there's nothing worse than finding yourself in a job that you hate. Now, most people who are drawn to doing hypnosis for their job, they're already quite passionate about it, and they understand they understand the power of the human mind, the potential, and they love doing that kind of stuff. But you still need to kind of streamline in terms of which audience you're going to reach for, and what's your message, who are you going to be. And the great thing about coming on a training course, any of you who are considering coming on the course, it looks like some of you are, well, the big thing is you've got all that time. You've got 9-10 months on a diploma course to really work some of that stuff out. But it's just knowing that it's a new direction, it's a new pathway, it's something different for you, that you want to help people change their lives, you want to help people feel better, be happier. Some people that come into the training, they're doing it because they're fascinated by the subject. They just think hypnosis is the most fascinating thing, and they want to learn more about it. They don't know exactly what they want to do with it yet. They're not completely decided, but they know it's something they want to pursue. They feel drawn, like it's a calling. They really just know it's something that's for them. And that's wonderful. That's fine. Those people always do well on our training courses. It's like your destiny is telling you it's a pathway you want to walk. And people do it just for enjoyment. People do it because they love learning. And a lot of people in life, like myself and lots of people I know, they're never happier than when they're learning something new. And again, that's a great motivation. And if that's your motivation for learning hypnosis, this is something you should learn. I'm sure of it. A lot of people also very happy with what they already do. Maybe they're already working as a therapist or a facilitator or trainer or teacher or whatever, working in business, working in health, anything, sports, but basically they want more tools. They want some more tools that will help them to get better at what they do. And sometimes other people have learned other modalities. A lot of people that come on our courses, probably a lot of people on the call tonight, have learned things like Reiki or NLP training, or they've done their, psychotherapy or counselling, or done a psychology degree, or maybe EFT or energy healing, or one of those, something like that. And they want other modalities. They want other things to add to their toolkit. They want other things to put together. So they've got a whole collection of talents and skills and ways of helping people. And again, that's wonderful, especially if you can keep your focus, like I said earlier, on the people you love helping and their joy and their potential and their uniqueness. If you can focus on that, all of these tools are going to help you. And hypnosis, you might just find, is a particularly powerful one that you can use. Lots of people come and train with us: nurses, teachers, therapists, medical. You wouldn't believe it. So many different people. Here's a question. And I've had this from people, so I wanted to put this question up there because this is important, because my answer won't be what you expect it to be. The question is, I want to train in hypnosis or hypnotherapy. Where should I train? What school should I train with? Now, you'll expect me to say, hey, you should come and train with my school, and we're the best. That's not my answer at all. Okay, be very clear about that. That is not my answer. A lot of people on this call aren't even in the same country as me. A lot of people in America and Australia and UK and stuff. So you're not very unlikely going to fly over for a year and train on one of my diploma courses anyway, or with our school. And for everybody who is living in New Zealand or Australia, I'm still not. Don't think I'm saying you have to come and train with us. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is, understand that the best hypnotherapy training is going to do two things. It's going to allow you to be very confident, to feel really confident that you can change people's lives and that you know how to do it, and that you believe that people have got so much potential and you have the tools to do that. Okay, that's a basic requirement. The other thing that's really important with your school, wherever you train, whether you do some distance learning thing or whatever it is that you're looking for yourself to learn more, whether it's a full-blown diploma program, what's also is critical, and please, listen to me, because this is coming from the heart. What is so important is that the course you do allows you to find yourself in all of this, to be yourself. Because you are unique, you are unbelievably special and unique. There's only one of you, and when you can bring that energy and that strength of yours to the table, you're going to help so many people. It's going to be incredible. This is my big motivation for teaching and training and coaching people is that they can be themselves and they can find their own purpose, their own pathway. And because when you do that, you're going to help so many people. If you contact a training school, and there are lots of them, and you should contact lots of them and talk to everybody. But when you're asking your questions, just make sure that you don't sense dogma or rigid unflexibility, that you have to do things a certain way. And you'll often get this. And I'm not criticizing anybody in particular, I promise. It's just that you'll often get in life, someone will say, you must do NLP. It's all about NLP. NLP is the answer to everything. Neuro-linguistic programming, that's the only thing. Everything else is rubbish. You hear the same thing said about, regression therapy. You must do regression, or you must do parts therapy. They're the only things that work. Nothing else works. This is the way. This is the standard. Please don't listen to any of that. Okay? If you sense that's happening, you may be in the wrong place. You should find a trainer or a school or an online course or whatever it is that is going to, depending on what how far you want to go with this. If you want to make a career out of being a hypnotherapist, a distance learning course is not going to do it. It really isn't. I can tell you that from experience. But if you're just looking to pick up tools and stuff to build what you're already doing, correspondence online, whatever, that could be perfect. A weekend course or something could give you just what you need. But again, don't do anything dogmatic, because you won't get the flexibility of thinking that makes hypnosis beautiful. You should be able to do training that allows you to be yourself, to do things your own way, your own style, to your own energies, but also to learn all of the best practices as well to go with it. That's what you're looking for. And I would implore you to, any training you do at whatever level, wherever you are in the world, make sure it's going to give you freedom to be yourself and to really, really help people to be themselves and to make massive changes in their lives. And you can do so much good, for yourself, in your life, in your family, but also helping others. If that's your destiny, is to help other people. That's the energy I would ask you to go and look for. Make sure there's an emphasis that the trainers that you work with really believe that you have greatness in you and they want to help you bring that out yourself, and that they see greatness in your clients. They want to help you to help your clients get greatness out of themselves. That's really exciting when you find that. And also make sure, if it's something where you're running a business, where you want to set up a hypnotherapy business or a coaching business or a therapy business, or you want to build another kind of business, relationships, helping people with relationships, quit smoking, whatever, make sure that the person you're training has a lot of success themselves, or has trained people who've been successful, because you need to know they're going to be able to help you with things like marketing and setting up a practice and all of that kind of stuff. And because there's nothing worse than realizing you've learned how to help somebody, but you can't get anybody to help when you don't have any confidence with your business building and your marketing. So make sure if that's a priority for you, if that's going to be important for you to get clients, make sure that's covered. Because, it's like doing a full hypnotherapy diploma, for instance. If you're going to spend a few $1,000s, or, some of them are really expensive, if you're going to spend that money on a diploma to get the qualifications and the certificates, understand that what really counts after that, once you embark on that pathway, is to see enough clients to pay the course fees back as soon as possible. So, make sure that's part of it, that you're going to get your money back, you're going to be able to see clients, that's going to be a possibility for you if that's your motivation. What do I want to talk about next? And again, any questions, guys? If you've got questions for me, we've still got time left. I'm definitely happy for this to go to 2 hours or a bit over. So if you've got some questions, please just put them through. And the greatest hypnotherapists that I've known in my life, and I've known a lot of people that are hypnotherapists and people that use hypnosis, in whatever field of endeavour, the people that have been really, really successful and have helped a lot of people, they've all been able to combine their own personal strengths, their own personal passions, and the training and the skills and a love of helping other people. So they're not clones. Don't think of learning hypnosis as becoming some kind of a clone. You will be so individual and so unique with all your passions and everything else, but you'll have the best practices, the skills, the code of ethics, everything that you need to go with that. So anybody can do this work that wants to, that's got the energy, that's got the passion for it. It doesn't matter if you're scientific by nature or if you're an artist by nature. It really doesn't. Both can make great hypnotherapists and have. Doesn't matter if you're an academic type person or if you've never studied at a high level, but you're like a people's champion. You have great experience of the world. You've got stories to tell. You've lived a life. You've lived an interesting life. Sometimes that is a great, those are great credentials for going into the business of helping people. Doesn't matter if you're very spiritual or not. Either way, you will live you let your light shine, you'll live your strength and energy, and you'll attract the right people to you. A lot of business coaches, more and more kind of business coaches and people that work in peak performance are using hypnosis and wanting to learn hypnosis. And the boundaries between someone who wants help with a problem and somebody who wants help living their dream life, those boundaries are becoming more and more blurred. And I know there's a lot of people that don't want that to be the case, but they really are. So many people come to see a hypnotherapist to quit smoking as a therapist type thing, and then the next day they want help with their $1 million business, and suddenly what they need is a coach. Now, you can be one of either sides of that fence, or you can work in both arenas. It's perfectly possible. And I know lots of people that do both, or one or the other. There's no rules with this. A lot of people come into this training because they've experienced pain or suffering or something like that themselves. And I've got some more questions coming through. So there's definitely people here listening, which is great. Some of the people have been called what we call wounded healers. Wounded healer, you've had the pain, you've experienced it, you've lived the journey, and now you're ready to hold somebody's hand and help them along their journey to get through some of the things you've got through, or maybe faster than you did, or maybe in a more empowering way, or maybe with more of a guiding hand or an arm around the shoulder or whatever. You think about our trainers at our school. We've all got such different styles, and that's what I'm so proud about with our school in New Zealand here, is that our trainers, we've all got different styles, we've all got different energy, we've all got different motivations. Everyone's got their own story to tell. Those of you who know Meredith McCarthy in Wellington, she's one of the most experienced hypnotherapists in the country. She's brilliant. She's very spiritual. She's got her own way, and her style resonates with lots of people. Some people it doesn't, but she is where Meredith McCarthy is a great kind of role model for hypnotherapists and coaches. She does a lot of life coaching, but where she's a great role model is she is just herself, and her light shines, and it's wonderful. And I can say that about all our trainers. And I talked about Peter earlier on in Auckland. He came into hypnotherapy because he taught himself to get rid of warts or something, and then I think he used it to improve his guitar playing and things like that, and he just used it to make all these changes himself and realised what a powerful thing it was. And now he's discovered he's a natural healer. He's naturally a therapist. He can really impact on people, and he makes such a difference to people's lives. He really does. Brenda in Wellington, Brenda Sheen. Brenda is she's one of the most wonderful people in this whole country. I say that without hesitation. She's taught and lectured and written books on the subject of recovery from rape and abuse and trauma. She's one of the most cheery, positive, inspirational people I know. But she can teach such dark subjects, but supposedly, but in a way that really make people feel empowered and really give people hope and strength. And so she would definitely come under kind of a wounded healer type of person that's come into this profession, where she's been on a journey, she's suffered and been through things, but she wants to help other people and show them better ways of doing things and easier ways of recovering and becoming stronger. And then you've got Ian Anderson. Anybody who's learnt in our school in Christchurch knows Ian's one of the most experienced hypnotherapists in New Zealand, if not the most. I mean, he's been doing this work for, I think, close to 30 years. And, he's not an old guy. I think Ian's still in his 40s. He's a young man, but he's been doing it since he was a youngster. And his motivation, he was interested in magic as a child, and he went to the magic shop in Christchurch as a youngster, and they had some books on hypnosis, so he started getting into hypnosis. And he is a technician. Ian he's a genius of hypnosis. He's a walking encyclopedia. There's nothing you can ask him on the subject or test him on that he won't know the answer to. He just knows inside out, and he's so enthusiastic, and he's helped so many other people to set up practices and to get clients and things like that, and he's a great trainer. So my point is, it kind of epitomizes what our school's about, is that our trainers are walking the talk. They're being themselves, and they're teaching their students to be themselves and to learn all these wonderful tools and techniques and trainings, but in a way that fits with them and fits into their way of doing things. And that's what we're about. So, the original question, which was, should people train with our school or where should they train? Depends what you're looking for. Depends if what we're doing and what our trainers are doing resonates with you. It depends if it's what you're looking for, if it fits in with your goals. And that's that clear communication thing, of what you're looking for. Somebody has asked me, have you ever used hypnosis via Skype? Would that work? Absolutely. We've done it tonight. I mean, you just need to think outside the box in terms of how you help people. If I don't really do hypnotherapy via Skype, but I kind of do, if that makes sense. I do a lot of coaching on Skype. Like we're doing a training tonight, I do a lot of this kind of work, and I work with clients one-on-one on Skype who I'm coaching, but often I'll do a little hypnotic exercise in the middle of the session, or I might put together a half an hour hypnosis journey for them, or hypnotherapy journey, and I might record that onto a CD and send that to them to listen to between our Skype sessions. Or I might do a 20-minute thing on Skype and then record it and send them the recording, like I'm going to send you guys the recording of this training. The thing with the internet and with communications now is anything's possible. When you think about hypnosis not in a very kind of rigid traditional sense, of course you can do it on Skype, you can do it on anything, telephone, whatever, really doesn't matter. Something that you might be interested in, I don't do video. I don't do video on Skype. When I'm having a Skype chat with someone, I don't turn the video on. And people get used to that with me. I mean, I like working at home. One of the beautiful things about doing this kind of work is you can do your own hours. You can work from home when you want. for people who've been out of the workforce for a while, mothers who've brought up a family and then want to get back to doing some kind of work part-time to start with, this kind of work's fantastic because you can do it from home if you wish, and more you can do Skype consultations. And I don't want, if I haven't tidied my office in the morning, I don't want people seeing that in the background, and if I haven't brushed my hair or something, I get up and, like, I've got calls tomorrow morning at 4:30 in the morning. I don't want to be on video. And I'm not a performer. I'm not that kind of person that wants that face-to-face thing. I'm not bothered. And so what I guess I'm saying again is you can make the rules. There are no set rules. We're in the age of the internet, new frontiers. People are developing new ways of doing things, their own processes, their own systems and programs and things like that. And the more you're a specialist, the more passion you have for the thing that you want to do and the people you want to help, the more you'll find ways of connecting with them. All of the people I mentioned with our trainers and a lot of the experts that I work with in different fields, they've got people the other side of the world that they work with on Skype. So, and if they want to do some, a metaphor or a story or a bit of hypnotic relaxation and meditation, record it, send it to the client via MP3 in their email. Depends what you want to do. But I hope that answers the question, person who asked that. Hopefully it gives you lots and lots of ideas of what you could do to make this really special for you. Another question, would I be able to train with your store? When's it happening? Yeah, I know that there are people on this call there's actually some people on this call that are already signed up to train with us, and I know there's others that are thinking quite seriously about doing the diploma program. Hopefully a lot of you know Ruth, who does all the administration. If you want to email inquiries at hypnotherapy-training.co.nz, that's inquiries at hypnotherapy-training.co.nz. If you email Ruth, she'll be able to give you all the dates. There's dates coming up to start training in Auckland and Wellington and Christchurch within the next few weeks. So if anyone's keen to get started on the diploma, now's the time. I mean, it's happening, and when you sign up, we send you out a bunch of stuff to get you started to read, and some audios and things like that. I don't even know what we send out anymore. I don't get involved in the admin, but Ruth will look after you. So if you're ready to get started, or if you've got some questions, just get in touch with us and we'll look after you. But it's a great time to start. Get a few days training in before Christmas and the New Year, and get a load of reading material, and then you hit the New Year running and ready to do whatever your dream is, whatever your pathway is, whatever you're dreaming of doing with your life. That would be great timing. Those of you that are on the our diploma program, I look forward to catching up with you sometime. Those of you who are just starting, congratulations. It's going to be an incredible journey. And anybody who's got any questions for us about our training or anything that we've talked about on this call tonight, please just email inquiries at hypnotherapy-training.co.nz. And I hope you've enjoyed this evening. We've gone to the 2 hours. I think we've probably covered enough now. And I hope you've learned. I hope you've enjoyed. And I hope that I've introduced you to a different way of looking at hypnosis and this whole philosophy of empowerment and magic, really. And it really is magic. Once you start to apply yourself to doing some of this on a regular basis, you're going to experience magical changes. I promise you that. And it's so wonderful that you're doing this. I hope it's at least been the start of something that's going to be life-changing for you. It's going to be really exciting. And good luck. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and hope you're all enjoying the sunshine. If you're in New Zealand, and wherever you are in the world, have a wonderful rest of the week. And just remember, you're a very amazing person. And this whole hypnosis thing is all about letting you own and develop and nurture your amazingness, because that's who you are. Always remember that.